Imagine a weapon so strong it can destroy a whole city in the blink of an eye. Now imagine the bad guys almost created it first. You know, like a movie. But it really did happen, and it all started with a revelation that changed everything. Let's discuss the Nazis and their war machines. You have to give them credit, their technology was insanely amazing, much ahead of the rest of the pack. They created blue whale-sized mortars that could fire rhino-sized rounds. They also built a gun so big and so powerful that they had to dismantle it themselves, for fear the Soviets would grab it and turn it on them. And here's the thing. They even worked on a death ray. That's a ray gun that could kill an airplane's engine and pilot with a click. The Nazis were developing new, huge, and terrifying ways of fighting. And of all those horrible schemes for mass destruction, there was one that mercifully never came to pass. Not least of all this fedora-wearing dude. This is the hero of the time, or the villain who has failed. It is early 1939. Poland is still Poland, minding its own business. A German scientist, Otto Fisch, and a friend stumbled on it by mistake. If you blast neutrons at uranium, it breaks into two lighter bits. But more interesting, it also releases a strong surge of energy. Another Otto and his friend worked out that this was a new method no one had ever seen before. They named it fission. And then they found something else that was much weirder. The atom emits extra neutrons along with the explosion of energy. That's the thing that triggered the whole chain reaction in the first place. Now guess what happens when one of these flying neutrons hits another atom of uranium? Yep, the same thing happens all over again. Now, imagine this happening repeatedly in a controlled environment. That's the core premise of an atomic bomb. Now this was all on paper. The bomb wasn't real yet, not even close. One leading scientist, however, immediately saw the great danger inherent in this discovery, and his name was Albert Einstein. He and many other smart scientists had left Germany out of fear of the rise of fascism in Europe. They settled down in America, but they remained concerned about what was happening to their native country. Einstein heard about fission and didn't sit on his hands. He immediately wrote a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, warning him of the potential danger of nuclear weapons before it was too late. Which leads us to Heisenberg. No, not that man from the TV show you may be thinking of. The real McCoy, Werner Heisenberg. Werner was a wonderful genius. By 23, he was producing papers of such originality that other scientists began to take attention. He invented something at 25 that is so complex I can't even fathom what it means. And at age 31, he earned a Nobel Prize for the creation of quantum mechanics. Sounds super fancy, huh? We'll be getting back to him in a little while. First, it's time for something called Blitzkrieg. Germany, the Slovak Republic, and the Soviet Union all attacked Poland at the same time, like a pack of wolves jumping on one sheep. The Poles were outnumbered many times over and had no one to help them. 6 Nazi murder camps left permanent scars on their country, killing millions of innocent people. You know how that narrative ends, and it's not a pretty one. The war had begun. Day after day, innocent lives were being lost. Europe and even Africa were rapidly being taken over by Hitler. The Nazis had the Uran project organized on the exact day the war began. That was their secret program to develop nuclear weapons. They sought to harness the power of fission to defeat their adversaries for good. And why did they begin this program? Thanks to Heisenberg. As Einstein had warned the American president, so Heisenberg had warned the German government of the power of the atom. The Nazis were particularly interested in this news. For some inexplicable reason, Heisenberg was not invited to the first meeting of the Uran project. But he did turn up for the second meeting a month later. Top physicists sat and talked about the immense power of a nuclear bomb. A bomb so powerful it could wipe out entire cities in the time it takes to blink an eye. All the scientists agreed it would take around 5 years to develop such a device. That meant it would be ready in 1944, smack in the heart of World War II. This was a whole year before the Americans detonated their first test bomb. Yeah, 1939, and the Nazis were already investigating nuclear bombs. That's 2 whole years before Oppenheimer even stepped onto the atomic scene. So why did the Nazis fail when they were 3 years ahead of the Americans? Here we must determine for ourselves if Heisenberg is a hero or a villain who has failed. He did not take over as director of the research program until the same year Oppenheimer became leader of the Manhattan Project. Why didn't the Nazis use Heisenberg's incredible brain capability earlier? Well, it's because Heisenberg didn't lobby for the bomb as hard as he might have. But he only told the Führer, 2 weeks later, what they had at the second meeting. He stated he casually mentioned the notion because he did not want to employ thousands of people on a project that could fail. And if anything went wrong, it would be very, very horrible for everyone. These stories make it very hard to tell what Heisenberg genuinely believed in his gut. Did he really not believe in the project? Or did he privately not want to carry the crushing guilt that Oppenheimer bore once the bomb was used? Either way, his idea worked. The project was shelved until 1942, but regardless, he quickly became the leader of the nuclear research program. Why again? Did he want to slow things down from the inside, and could he only achieve so if he was the boss? Or was it because Hitler believed he could finally lead the Nazis to triumph, but only if he was in charge? No matter how you cut it, the race between Oppenheimer and Heisenberg was pretty much the same. They both began in the same type of employment for their own countries the same year, and the Americans won, which was good for the globe. Was our hero deliberately stalling the Nazis while Oppenheimer went full speed ahead? Or was it the horrible hatred of the Jewish people that sent all the Jewish scientists out of Germany to the top? So there were fewer brainiacs around to help with the endeavor. And furthermore, by then the war was going badly for Germany, so Heisenberg could not get all the resources and materials he required. The real answer is still unclear to historians around the world. So we cannot know if Heisenberg goes to paradise or hell, but we are able to provide you facts. Here's a great creepy truth. In 1944, Heisenberg was asked for a meeting with Adolf Hitler himself, and less than a year later, Hitler killed himself. You can call me a conspiracy theorist, but the timing is really strange, don't you think? The Nazis and Heisenberg did eventually create a prototype of a nuclear reactor, but they were nowhere near what the Americans and Oppenheimer had done in just 3 short years. The Allies would finally catch Heisenberg. Like the other German scientists, however, he was soon released and repatriated. He played a huge part in getting the country reliable, peaceful nuclear energy for its people back in Germany. This is the odd, twisting, bizarre narrative of the man who may have been a hero, or may have been a villain of the Second World War.